Hey everybody, welcome back. Thank you all so much for being so interested in the last couple of videos. I have ended up with some more free time, so I figured why not? I'm sick, might as well go ahead and make a video, right? So thank you all so much for the last two being so popular and you guys finding useful things in it. Exceptionally validating on my half. And my wife obviously also loves all the compliments going towards her for the library. So I figured today would be a good opportunity since I was blue balling you guys in the last video about the updated villa. I figured I'd go ahead and just do another tour on it since I'm 99% sure it's basically done. The house itself is finished. Um, I feel safe showing it off. One of my day ones, Cryo Stratos, I believe, this fine fella has given me some excellent feedback. So, unfortunately, I'm about to go against the grain with it because I'm going to sit here and talk while you look at the screen. But the reason why I sit here in front of an area where, like, we've chiseled, like right now, I'm sitting at a table that has a chessboard on it, is because to me this is like I'm sitting down and having a conversation with you, the viewer. I understand not everybody wants to sit here and listen to me ramble. I get that, so feel free, like as I've said before, to skip around and find the part of the video that you're here for. I will try to tighten things up and button things down, but I don't know what it is about me, but like I will circle the problem twice before I actually say, oh yeah, here's the point. I don't know what that is about me. I guess I just have to look at the thing and ramble until the point of my message actually comes across. I'm going to try to minimize that, but it may still happen. I am also going to try to make these intros shorter. So, for instance, right now, we're going to go ahead and after I get done thanking all of you lovely motherfuckers for showing the support and the gratitude I have and the appreciation, and welcome you guys to partake in the process by leaving feedback and compliments and other comments down in the comments. Um, Now that I'm done with that, we're going to go ahead and begin the tour. I don't want it to take forever. Um, Nobody wants to sit here and look at my pretty face. So let's go ahead and just get started with showing off the house. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Now, I've already showed this off before, so a lot of the main details I do not want to go over again because you can just watch the original video. You can see where I explain how we do the plumbing, why we built the house the way we built it, and the color palette choices. Like we're using the different colored woods, and I like the way the gray looks on the roof and the mud brick. A lot of these choices were made because this is the material that we had available at the time. And you can see that the choices change that we make as time goes on and the base expands because we get access to more resources and more production chains. So, um, this is the beginning of the process, and I have since gone back through and added some of my learned techniques to it, and that's why this is different. So, to start us off, this is the main opening area. Again, we have the hot springs here because it keeps us warm in the winter, and we built here. Very ornate chiseling along the walls and everything. Feel free to stop and look and see how I've done. I like making things look arched, um, and then adding depth and texture to stuff. The big point, I guess I would say, is that you're building in a cube game. So anything you can do to make it not look like a cube, you should do. So chiseling things back and out and putting beams on them and having stuff stick off the side of your giant square and maybe put smaller squares on your big squares. That kind of stuff breaks up the block silhouette and makes things look more realistic and grounded and more appealing. Um, Excuse me. The outside of this initially had a lot of what I've been calling dead space. And so to break that up, we put lattice, we put beams, we put banners, chiseled some cherry motifs above the gables, and then, plenty of ebony accoutrements throughout the whole build. This is going to be focusing on the house, so feel free to take a look at the outside here while I go around. The windows are all relatively different, but there are similarities between some of the windows. I was mostly experimenting with how to chisel window frames and stuff like that. I've since basically gotten it figured out, but this is the kind of stuff I was leaning on at the time. So this is kind of like a snapshot back into the past. This is the cellar, which I've done a video on. If you want to go check it out, I might do a newer video on it because it is a bit different, but it's not going to be part of the house tour. This is like a flower bed to kind of give some privacy to the bathroom windows because I didn't want to have small windows like that on the outside. But if you have big ass windows going in your bathroom, then everybody can see what you're doing. So some way to create a sense of privacy was I had this privacy wall divider thing on the inside that I've chiseled to be kind of like a lattice, like it's a checkerboard, and that kind of breaks up the visibility through the window, give you a little bit of privacy. Not that you need it in the game because you're not actually doing anything bathroom related in the bathroom, but Verisimilitude. Um, this is, I guess, part of the villa, but really this is like a whole different area. I mean, you have this wall here where you have some of the banners that I've put in our very patriotic American flag, some chiseled shields, and then the planter, and then again throwing down a pounder cap to make it look like a cup, and then the bottle makes it look like we used a bottle to fill the cup. And that story is being told right there on that table by itself. Just a small little narrative, and those little small narratives all around the building add up to the big narrative that, hey, people live here and they fuck around here. Again, using not double necessarily, but using trap doors to make shutters is really useful because at least in this game, not Minecraft, you can put them sideways and they open like swinging doors. I wish they would do it together, but I digress. I think this little window was neat, and it's a good way for me to hide a light up here, and also imply that there's a room up here that, although it's really not a big room, it is used for storage, but it's not any kind of room that I would want to advertise to a visitor. Just storage for tools and stuff. There used to be a shelf cabinet here that I've since removed because storage needs have changed. But this is the outside of it. Basically, take it in. I can't really say much about the color palette because, again, it was about necessity. What trees did I have available to me to fell here, and what kind of time did I want to spend on it? I will say that is a bit wrong because you can see here these planks are Kapok planks. We did change, like before the house being done, I did go get Kapok and do that, but otherwise, like the choice to use mud brick and everything like that, all of that was because, and like the light gray ceramic tiles, that's because that's what we could do. We didn't have a beehive kiln and all this other shit. We were limited by what the game mechanics were available to us, and so we did that. And then as we expanded, we acquired more resources, Kapok, ebony, acacia, and brought them back and made the house more gussied up. So, oh yeah, that was me showing an example of something. Get that out of the way. That's basically outside of it. Feel free to take a look. Screenshot or pause, whatever you got to do. Big fan of these fairy lights. My wife wanted them using the creative light blocks. It was the only way I could achieve it, but I think there's mods that let you do it in survival. These little guys, the shield mounts are nice because they just break up the color on the corners, and they also add some texture to it without me having to do a bunch of chiseling. And it's really nice because you had this square ebony piece, and then I was able to kind of chisel square ebony pieces in here. So this kind of shit is that cultural motif stuff I'm talking about, where if you do something one way on a build and then you do that another, like the same way in different parts on different builds in different volumes, it will avoid looking repetitive while also being repetitive enough to solidify to you that this is a group of people doing these things. It's not this is a build, that's a build, this is another build, and they just exist next to each other. It's, oh, these people are here solving these problems with these solutions, and these are the solutions they have. So having the same awning, having the same type of window, having the same shutter design, having the same color palette are ways that you can signal that an area is occupied by a shared culture. Little musket thing on the wall just to have something above the doorway. Cabinets that have not been chiseled out with anything on them yet, and then bookshelves that are chiseled into the mantle for the fire pit or fireplace, which we don't really need to use because why do these keep popping up? Because when we come in here, I must be left clicking or something and not realizing it. This is a hot springs that keeps this room warm, so you don't really even need the fire pit in the winter because this right here warms you up, which is one of the reasons why we built on the hot springs in the first place. Our alcohol nook, a lot of this stuff is not actually even on a surface. A lot of this is part of the window frame. So I'll show you an example here. Like this is not an item. The window frame is the block, and then I chiseled some bottles in front of it to make it look like, there's bottles sitting on this counter. And then underneath is the actual storage for our alcohol. This is just there to like visualize like this is where we keep it. So having a little alcohol corner, you see those in older houses a lot. Like if you watch that 70s show, Red and Kitty have a little mini bar area off to the side of their living room space where they can store their alcohol and everything. With drinking being a big part of American culture, because it was a big part of European culture, that is, a reason to have a mini bar in your building. Chiseled couch just seemed right to have somewhere to sit. There's no TV, so you just sit and watch the fire. Um, Actually, that's the living room. Feel free to take a look at it. I done showed a lot of this stuff off. I don't think much has changed in here. This would be, on this wall right here, though, this would be that dead space I'm talking about. This would be a super flat wall. Same thing with right here above the fire pit. We approached it this way on this side with the antler display and the banners, and on this side it's nothing but custom chiseled banners that my wife made. Really proud of her for it. I think she wanted to put something on the other two, but never could figure out what it was going to be, and so they've just been left blank. Doesn't look too bad, in my opinion, though. Again, beams going across underneath the balcony just to make it look like these suckers are being held up and not just kind of floating there. But you come back through the living room and you enter back into one of our other entries, because you can come in through this way, giggity, the back door, or you can come in through the front door. It's all about where you get permission to come in. But this room I've talked about earlier is just where we store stuff, kick your boots off. Have some chiseled backpacks next to an actual backpack to kind of tie that together. This is supposed to be like a shoe rack. We have shelves full of shoes inside a chiseled frame. I want to talk about this in its entirety, but this is an example of something I'm going to talk about in a minute where you break up the grid. Okay, so just remember that, breaking up the grid. Just take that into consideration. Another thing that we do is, I'm going to open this. See how this is brick, this is daub. A little dividing line to separate that construction, because that's what you'd actually see in real builds. I can't call this a floorboard, and I'll talk more about that upstairs, but the bottom half of the wall being framed up and looking different than the top half of the wall is something that was really common in a lot of older buildings. It could even be as simple as the bottom block being white and then having a some kind of molding or something along the separation between the white bottom, and then you'd have like red painted walls or something. That kind of stuff is not so common in modern homes. Usually it's a flat one colored wall all the way down, but older houses used to like cut the wall in half, basically. I'm not sure what that architectural term is called. I'm sure somebody smarter than me knows it, and if you do, please feel free to share it down in the comments. But this is one approach at a mirror, and then this is another approach at a mirror. Just kind of bounce around here. Like I said, I've already toured the rooms. I'm kind of just showing things I've done now. How do you do a mirror? There's nothing really reflective in here. If you have higher graphic settings, the metallic blocks are rather reflective, and so you can put metal behind glass and maybe get some kind of reflective look and to insinuate that it's supposed to be a mirror, even though you can't actually see yourself. That one has, I believe that is plaster behind clear glass, and this is polished andesite behind quartz glass. And so they create different looks. I think, honestly, though, the one in the bathroom looks more like a mirror to me, anyway. But I wanted a sink in here, and I felt like that right there was a cool way to have a sink. Just have the pipe come out of the floor and then pour over into the basin. We also have a bathroom, or not a bathroom, a toilet over here that mimics the shape of this basin. Again, cultural motifs, similar things accomplished through similar ways, creates a sense of unity and like cohesion. But you can't have a toilet without the 3 seashells. Absolutely crucial. And I liked chiseling a little separator to cut that off. And then, because like the bathroom is the bathroom, you're private, but like while you're in here, maybe you want a little bit more privacy, so you can go in here. But here's a shower with the shower head coming out of the pipe. It's implied that water can drop down and spill on you and then go down the drain. And technically this is a water source, same thing as with this. And these sources can be used for sifting. So there's bony soil and sand and stuff stored in here for that, as well as medicine and honey for heals. My medicine cabinet is in the bathroom, so it made sense to me for these things to be in the bathroom as well. Blues, greenish blues and grays for the floor, just because that signals to me water. Maybe it's kind of generic, but it works mentally for me. Some robes up on the wall, and of course one is blue, one is pink because of sexism that instantly tells, hey, male, female. I'm sorry for that, but that's just the way modern Western society is at this point. So the fact that it's me and my wife, blue and pink robes hanging up, it's a good trope, it's a cliche, it's a visual signal more than anything else. Like, oh, there's a couple here and they have a bathrobe. Same thing with these 2 towels hanging on the rack. We got a bucket and a chair chiseled in. Again, breaking up the grid. I'll talk about that more in a minute, but breaking up the grid. Keep thinking about that. Same thing with this guy, little shelf with like a bar of soap and a brush on the side of it. Maybe it's a bit far away from the shower, but like this whole room is designed to be able to get wet. So what's the harm in stepping out of the shower basin and grabbing that, coming back over here? That's my logic anyway. And then of course, I don't know why this keeps happening. These blocks are here. I promise they're here, but for some reason they go invisible. It's really problematic when it snows and this happens, but these blocks are inside. So I don't know what effect the snow detection has with making these things appear invisible. I've tried the remapping command, and that still doesn't fix it. The only fix for this is for me to be creative, break these blocks after I copy them, and then put them back. I have no idea why. If you happen to know and how I can fix it, please let me know. But in a bathroom, it's very damp, and there's a lot of moisture, so I feel like having plants in here to soak that up and put fresh, crisp air out. I'm pretty sure that's done in the real world. People have plants in their bathroom, so it just made sense for us to have some greenage in here, and it gave us a way to occupy space. Like now this has something here. It's still navigable. This corner piece has something, and this dead space on the wall is occupied. And it just all flows together really nicely. And then also chiseling some lattice on the wall, some lattice. And then these are the dividers I was talking about, how they're also chiseled like a checkerboard, just not as finely. I did these first, and I wasn't committed to the bit, so I didn't go all the way down. Maybe I could have, maybe I should have. I did go down, giggity, all the way, giggity, for these pieces. So maybe in hindsight, I should have come back and done those down more finer. But it is what it is. I'm happy with it. The point is getting across how many people are actually coming in here and checking out my bathroom. Just me, really. I also chiseled a painting to make it look like it's a Taj Mahal. Like the sun is over here. Like that's why that's orange. It's a darker red. Some darker greens on this side. Lighter greens on that side. And if I squint at it, it kind of looks like the Taj Mahal. I kind of wanted to make a Minecraft type painting. So let me know what you guys think about it. And again, talking about having it being a painting, look at how thick that is. That's like 2 voxels thick. That's not a poster. That's not painted onto the wall. That's an object hanging on the wall. You know what I mean? Electric lighting here. There's some upstairs, so I'll go ahead and talk about it. I don't want to have torches everywhere. I don't want to have oil lamps hanging everywhere. I don't want a lantern hanging down from every ceiling or poking out of every wall because they're very obtrusive. Even the smaller lanterns now, although they're smaller, they're still pretty obtrusive. So chiseling these little electric lights is justified to me in my mind out of need, and also because you can technically achieve the creative glow lights and light blocks with mods. I don't feel like it's too much cheating. I should be able to make some kind of glowing block. That should be a way for me to have light for my build, just for the artist perspective. Same reason why I'm arguing for more vibrancy and different materials to be available for builders. But in a setting where you have Tobias and Jonas Falks and a night vision mask and teleporters and the Resonance archives, a little bit of technological advancement is not a sin, in my opinion. So having these crude, rudimentary electric lights coming through these lame-ass wires was good enough for me, lore-wise, to justify doing this creative solution. So they're here. Now, technically, there is a lamp in this, or a lantern in this room, because these lights weren't doing enough, and I couldn't really put them here. I wanted them there. But having them here, and next to this, will make it make more sense when these lights appear in other places. So this is kind of like foreshadowing, showing these lights here inside the house, like, oh, that's why those lights are out here next to this thing, because they obviously have some kind of electricity. If the house has it, then why wouldn't they put it in other places? So just a little bit of, I guess, mental grounding for something you'll see later. More storage over here in the corner. We go to the kitchen here. I've showed this off before. Not much has changed. The reason I want to go into the kitchen, because you can set this up however you want, is twofold. Okay, first thing, rugs. Someone, I think it was Cryos, actually asked about the rug in the library video. I use creative blocks because those blocks are smooth, they're very vibrant colors, and if I try to use smooth, polished stone or something like that with chert, one, the colors are not as vibrant, and two, I would get seams in between the blocks. So if I want my rug to be multiple blocks, and I try to use stone or some other kind of thing that has a border to it, those seams are going to appear. And it goes back to that library discussion where it's not going to look like it's a thing. It's going to look like it's 6 or 7, giggity, things put together. And so to avoid that, you want to hide the seams. Well, creative blocks don't have seams. Before I knew about the creative, maybe, or maybe before I was willing to use it, I tried it with the polished chert, and then I chiseled some regular chert to hide the seam, and then I did a design with this bronze to kind of like overlap where the seam would be, so that way even if you did see it, you wouldn't be able to see it. And this looks like a rug to me, a rather dirty, nappy, old rug, but a rug, you know. I think the rugs in the library look a lot better because they're smoother and softer and more vibrant, and that's why I justified myself using the creative blocks to do that. So I just wanted to touch on that real quick. But also to talk about my cow tool logic, and I guess maybe you could call it Rorschach logic. Let's go with that, because the cow tools kind of follows that same concept if you apply that retrospectively. So I don't know if you know what the cow tool comic is, but somebody made a comic and it was a cow with a bunch of tools, and the tools didn't actually look like any real tools. They looked tool-like. Because we were tool-using mammals, we can infer what those tools might be, right? He didn't design them to actually be anything. He just made a bunch of random shapes. So those random shapes, when given context and with our already predisposed pattern-seeking brains, that's a spatula. That's some kind of fork or something. That's a fork. That's a knife. That's a mallet. That's a pot. That's a pan. That kind of stuff comes together. So having these hanging objects that look enough like tools to convey to the reader, the audience, the viewer, that they're tools, you don't have to put every exact tool in there. It just has to look like, oh, these things do something. You can take them down and do something. And it doesn't even have to apply just to tools. Like I was talking about the skylight, how the ornateness on it didn't really mean anything. Same thing with these bottles and stuff I've chiseled up here. These, like, they don't even go all the way back. I only did the front. The rest of that is just nonsense that I chiseled down, because you are not going to be seeing these things from back here. Like right here, well, if I can get up the stairs, you can see, okay, there's stuff up there. That's all you need to see. And then you come down here in the actual kitchen, and you can see like, oh, well, there's bottles and stacks of stuff. Oh, that's cool. You're not ever actually going to get up here and look and see that this is complete and total nonsense. So on top of the Rorschach, like whatever you look at that blotch, whatever you're feeling, you're going to see something different from somebody else. That logic applied to don't put effort where no one's going to be looking. Okay, try to focus on where your audience is actually going to be paying attention. Like when they build a movie set, they don't always actually build the whole town. Sometimes they just build the front of a building and it's held up by popsicle sticks in the back. Don't be scared of popsicle sticks. Just be good at hiding your popsicle sticks, so to speak. But again, feel free to take a look around the kitchen. We have blinds, I got beams, I got the cow tools, I got an oven, a range hood, all this other stuff for you to take a look at. Some of these things are in the first video, but you can also pause right now and take a look at how I do things. I also even color code my Crocs just to show you how autistic I am. And then again here, breaking up the grid. Okay, this is a solid block. It looks like maybe there's a door for a cabinet here. It looks like this is an open air set of shelves. These are shelves that occupy the same thing. Breaking up the grid, breaking up the block. And I'll talk more about it here in just a second. I promise, I'm building up to it. But another thing I want to talk about is the trench coat thing again, how you have these different assets, like with the rug pieces or the bookshelves. You don't want to look like it's 8 different things put together. You want to look at it's a thing that occupies that much space. So I like making furniture. Yeah, I could have these shelves right here just sitting out, you know, being shelves. But when I put the shelves here, and then I put a door on it, put a roof on it, put a wall on it, now it's a cabinet set. Now it's a wardrobe. Now it's a piece of furniture. It's not 3 shelves stacked up. It's a box that has shelves in it. And so, yes, I'm literally putting a bunch of small things inside something and wrapping it up in a trench coat. And that's literally what I'm doing to avoid making something look like it's 3 different things in a trench coat. I know that sounds like contradictory, but like that's how you have to do it. You have to frame and box up and enclose these smaller individual assets to make it look like it's one asset. And I hope that's helpful. Again, Cryo has directed me here and gave me some feedback that I'm really trying to take to heart and like focus on the points and not so much like, oh yeah, here's some stuff, look at this stuff. Like I want you to look at the stuff, but also want to give you the purpose as to why I'm showing you the stuff. Maybe direct your brain more towards the inspiration and the lesson that I intend for you to get. Like with this floor right here. This right here would have been dead space on a big old open floor. What do you put here on the floor? If you put a big old table, now you're losing navigability, which is another part I was talking about. So what do without losing navigability, without having a boring empty space? Well, you put down a carpet or a rug, right? We've done that several times. It's a good thing to do. I did not want another square-ass boring rug in here chiseled into the floor or even just chiseled on the floor as this one is chiseled, because if it's just 1 or 2 voxels thick, you can walk over it and it's not very intrusive to your navigation. So, there's a saber-toothed tiger skull asset in the game, so we put that down. I was like, you know what would be cool? A pelt, an animal skin in the floor. Oh, they have bear pelts. Oh, they have, well, now they have like raccoon and fox pelts, but typically the pelts are all just one generic pelt, and they're not the size I need for this room, and I didn't want to have like 2 different bear pelts. So what do you do? What do you do? Well, we grabbed that saber-toothed tiger skull, put it down, and then we were inspired. A tiger pelt, and so I chiseled a tiger pelt, and I'm very pleased with this. I like the way this looks. It's not intrusive. You can run over it. There's no problem. You can get wherever you need to go, but it occupies that space. It instantly takes your mind off of anything else in here, and you focus on that. And then the other stuff is like, yeah, we have a painting. Yeah, we got the shelf with the shoes. We got storage. But this room, in my opinion, is the tiger pelt rug room. Like that's the thing that's in this room that you're drawn to, right? Again, very big fan of chiseling custom stairs because the in-game stairs do not look like how real world stairs look. I've built a lot of staircases, and so I like making them look more structural and grounded. So you can see how it's a lower incline. I had to chisel the ceiling here a little bit so you can get up, but the ability to cut back on a whole block and break up the block and go against the grid is super fucking helpful. And again, we're building up to that point. But you come up here, more chiseled stuff on the walls. I've showed this off before. Chiseled gramophone, record player, whatever, on the table. Which, I guess a little lesson here. This is a bookshelf with a chiseled block that looks like the window frame over top of it. But because I've done it this way, it looks like this bottom sill is actually the top of the bookshelf. And I thought that was a nice little trick to make this look more coherent like a unit while also decorating the window and also giving something more decorative to be on top of the boring bookshelves. Aquarium, you have to use creative to get the fish in here. Everything else can be picked up and moved and all that stuff, but there's no way to transport live fish yet. So unfortunately, you have to cheat, but I think it's worth it to have a little Finding Nemo reference in your house. So that's what we did. And again, these are not on a block. We're breaking up the block. We're breaking up the grid. This is not one block's worth of stuff split evenly. This table is multiple blocks. This end table is split between 2 different blocks. So it goes against the grid. Now, let's see if there's another example in here. There's not another example in here. I'll talk about more. Give me just a second, guys. This is another thing. I don't structure my videos. I don't formally plan my builds, and I don't have any kind of script to what I'm going to say. I do have to kind of just go through what I intend to show and let the lessons reveal themselves. My wife has an altar area over here. Really like that. Using the wallpaper was a nice way to get some texture and detail that you wouldn't normally be able to get. Same thing with the carved acacia blocks. You couldn't do that yourself, so stealing that from the ruins and repurposing it is a trick that I would definitely recommend. Flags and stuff on the wall, having hanging. I started to sound like Squidward. Scratch my nose. Ugh. Anyway, having hanging banners and stuff in the room just again occupies what I call dead air. I like having these beads hanging from strings for blinds or curtains instead of like the regular drapey ones. We have different stuff for the bedroom. Don't pay too much attention to how our canopy bed is structured. It's very much a joke for me and my wife because of the type of people that we are. Same thing with the camera looking at the bed. Do not read too much into it. Custom chiseled wardrobe over here with like fake clothes and stuff hanging on a rack. And then next to it is an actual closed up cabinet, which is just, again, 2 chests in a trench coat with some stuff hanging off the side of it. Again, just to make it feel very lived in and occupied, and like we have furniture and we do stuff here. Giggity. This pole was very load bearing, and we had this recessed ceiling here to have a chandelier up there. And one thing I will talk about in this room at least is lighting. Lanterns, very white, bright light, even the smaller ones. Candles and lamps have a more orangish glow to them. So somewhere you want to be cozy use more candles and use more lamps because it has an orangish light to it, and it's a lot dimmer. You might have to use more lamps and candles to get the brightness level as high as it needs to be to prevent drifter spawns, but the orange light makes it warm and cozy and livable. The bright white lights are kind of surgical and impersonal and more like this belongs in a civic building because you can see clearly. Oh, we do work here, we want to see clearly. And I would say it really is just something you have to play around with. Like, do I want a lamp here? Do I want a lantern here? How does that look hanging down? That kind of stuff. And I could talk about that more here in just a second because like this lantern. If I had that out in the middle of this room, one, it would take up that flat space, which we'll talk about again in a minute. But it would be very obtrusive. If you walked underneath it, that lantern would be right above your head. That's why in Minecraft you never built 2 block tall rooms. There's always 3, or at least 2.5 using slabs, because you need some headroom above you. Your character is 2 blocks tall. What room do you as a person walk in and the ceiling is right above your head? Almost none of them. So this is one of the examples where I felt having the flat ceiling actually worked in my favor. You can see I don't have a bunch of beams going across. Why, Effective Pawn? Why, Pawn Hub? Red Pawn Dynamics, why is this ceiling flat? Well, look at how cluttered the floor is with the rug with the map on it for the kids to drive their cars around, and the stuff on the wall, there's like trophies and books, and the record player against the window, and the aquarium itself, the fish tank sticking out into the room. I do have a structural beam going right here, but why is there not more like you see elsewhere? Well, with as cluttered as the walls and the floor and stuff is, I felt having some empty space on the ceiling would make the room less claustrophobic. If I had a big old vaulted roof in here, the room would feel too big for what it is. But if I put a bunch of beams in here, it would feel too claustrophobic for what I wanted. So having cluttered walls and floors, but a very smooth, flat ceiling, I think works in my favor in this room. If you guys disagree with me, by all means, let me know what you think down in the comments and what your opinion on it is. Again, the only person I really have to consult when I do this stuff is my wife to get her opinions. So there's other expert builders out there, people who do things differently from a different background, different lived experience. Your perspective is very welcome. I would love to see and hear what you guys think and have to say on this type of stuff. But we'll go through this room, and this is, I don't even know what you'd call this room, because it's like, it's not the kids' room, but the kids' toys are in here. But it's also where an aquarium is, but it's also where our record player is. So maybe this is a lounge, I guess. And then this room over here, see, I keep accidentally placing stuff. This room would be our study. I'm really big into maps, so this room has a lot of maps on the wall. You can see the lighting up here I was talking about, how I foreshadowed that down there. And then this is the main lighting source up here. There's no lanterns in here, except for that guy right there. And he's hidden away. I wanted him hidden away. So we have the ambient lighting, like to actually keep the drifters out, the lighting that we need. And then we have the decorative lighting from the pseudo-electric hanging lamp things. And again, if I had just lanterns or torches all over this place, it would look weird. The lanterns are intrusive, the torches are a fire hazard. These condensed implied electric lamps are, I just felt like the way to go. But this room is like just paper storage and schematic storage for like well, if you're using mods, it'd be for the schematics for the buildings and stuff, the assets. But the schematics for the glider and then lore books and stuff like that go in here. But I decorated with maps, make it look like a map room. We have a star chart over here. It looks like maybe there's zodiac signs around it. Sideways map of Italy and Sicily. A little bitty map of the world. Maybe that's Africa. Maybe that's Hispaniola. And then here's obviously North America. I just like maps. I like cartography, so they're up there. A little telescope right here so we can observe things out the window, although the builds outside have grown and is now pretty intrusive. You're not going to be able to see much with the telescope. But the telescope is here. We have an astrolabe and some pillows and stuff next to it. Like, this is our observatory area in the house. And then some seating arrangements, obviously. But this is a map of our world. This middle dot is our base where we're currently at, the estate. There's our north dock. There's our west dock. And the south dock is off the map. This is the estate as it was at the time of this build. It has since expanded and changed, obviously, but you know, a little piece of history on the wall. And then we come into here. This is technically one room with two balconies that overlap this open space that shares with the living room down below. So, very open air, very, I want to say it again, very atrium-like. Now, it does make the room detection logic a little bit more difficult because I had to really make sure that it did not go past the 14 by 14 by 14 measurement. So that way this would still be readable as a room and it wouldn't be cold as fuck in the winter when we was in here. So we achieved that very carefully with doors and closing this off and all this other stuff. But this space, this balcony right here is just like a lounge area. You can see we have books and paintings and display cases of trinkets and then the actual tuning cylinders with the resonator. And then I've chiseled to make it look like there's some tuning cylinders stored inside this desk. Now, speaking of this desk, this is where I'm going to really talk about splitting the grid or breaking up the grid or splitting the block. I'm not sure what term to call it, but we are all aware that we are playing this game and it's a cube game and that it operates on a grid, that there's voxels, okay? So anything you can do to break that assumption, to create an illusion that it's not a grid, I think you should take it as long as you have the resources and the energy and the time to do it. So for example, I could have, instead of doing this chiseled desk thing here that I have, I could have just put cabinets. But here's the problem. This banister is occupying this block space. Okay, this block that is the edge right here of the roof, not the roof, the balcony, is technically occupied at every spot. Even this empty-looking spot right here is occupied by this railing. This guy can only be here because the dummies are not. Like, they're not a block, they're an entity. So I can scoot him and put him in that occupied block because there's technically free space there for the entity to stand. But this is all occupied. This is technically only a 2-wide walkway because this wall was lined up with stuff and then this wall is occupied by the railing. If this is all occupied by the railing, how'd you get these tables and the table and the desk here? Well, if the railing occupies the block, that means I can't put something in this block, right? So what I did, that's not even the right one. Hold on, where's it at? There we go. The desk is part of the same block as the railing. I chiseled the desk onto the railing, and although they're like separate, it is butted up against it, but it's two separate items occupying the same part of the grid. And so like the banister is solid, or the railing is solid. It goes all the way across. You can see that. But it looks like this desk is a separate desk butted up against the railing. And then because it's a flat surface, I can actually use it like it's a table. Same thing with this little desk right here, this table. Oh, it's not letting me steal it. Hold on a second. There we go. See? It's just chiseled next to the banister, or the rail. I keep saying banister, but I don't think that's right. I think the banister is the part at the end where the railing ends. The end of the railing is the banister. But if I'm wrong about that, let me know. Correct me. I want to be right, not wrong all the time. So that is the trick about breaking up the block. Like, we know this is on a grid, so anytime you can have an item and it's not inconvenient, split between two different blocks, or three, or maybe two things occupying the same block space, I feel like you should do it because it goes against the grain of the logic that you've come to understand with the game. Like, everything has to have its own block. So when you see two things in a block, like, it shatters the illusion that this is fake, that this is a game. It gives you a sense of realism that you can have multiple things occupying the same space. For instance, another example of that, I have the mantle for the fire pit. Part of that same square that is building this thing is the fire poker and the brazier itself where that would sit. So these are part of blocks, but it's a separate item. That's an item on top of an object, but this item and the object itself occupy the same block. I know I'm repeating myself and I've said it the same way different times, but like, I just want to make sure this is clear what I'm trying to emphasize. So I apologize for the repetition. That kind of stuff goes a hell of a long way. And then, like, look at this. See how this by itself is fucking nothing? But it looks like this slope is part of the bookshelf, and it's actually tied into the whole mantle, as if the fireplace mantle has bookshelves built into the side of it, and not like I stacked up bookshelf assets on the side of these blocks that I've chiseled. So, that was laggy. Just something else to consider. Again, covering dead air or dead space, breaking up the block. Again, my wife's runner is here. Doing the carpet, this is a different way to do it. Daub is actually not a bad idea. The blocks themselves are not as saturated, but they do have a good variety of colors for the most part. And if you use not the full applied daub, because like the daub has 3 different stages. You have barely any daub, a little bit more daub, and then a fully daubed block. The little bit of daub block that has like patches is really good for the carpets, because look at that grainy looking texture. It looks like there's like fuzz bits. You know what I mean? It's not flat and smooth like the creative rugs in the library. My only gripe about it is that the color saturation is very low. It's not vibrant at all. But other than that, happy with it. And then again, splitting the block, same thing with this computer. A lot of this is implied. None of this actually would do anything if this was to be a computer. But I made it look like all these bits eventually culminate in somehow being able to display something on this computer screen over here and interact with my keyboard and mouse that I've chiseled. So again, more electricity, kind of foreshadowed by the lights throughout the rest of the build. And then this balcony obviously comes out to this open balcony that I've showed before. And we have a little seating arrangement that my wife chiseled, a diagonal chair. Oh, that's another thing, breaking up the block. Don't be afraid to chisel things at 45 or 26 degree angles. Chisel things at angles. Make them not a square. Okay, that also helps break up that grid for the brain. And then, using the same awnings, the same barrels, the same roof types, same color palettes, those types of things help bring it all together. But I think that's really all I got to say about the house. I just wanted to go over the tour again. I do want to do a tour on the cellar and stuff like that in more detail, but I wanted to go over these tips and try to practice narrowing down my talking and focusing on lessons. So this video is kind of an experiment to see if I need to go more this route, if anything is lost by me doing this, or perhaps if it's even more efficient for me to do it this way. But I'm actually not sure how long I made this video now, how long I've been recording. We're just getting into the typical Midwestern goodbye portion of it now, of course. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If there's anything I've walked through in the house but didn't talk about and you want to see it in more detail, again, let me know. If there's something I touched on but it wasn't enough, I can elaborate even further in another video if you wish. And if there's something in the background that you want to see, or if there's something I've alluded to that you want me to expand on even more, again, let me know down in the comments. If you like what you see, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I appreciate the feedback. I like expanding the community I have growing here. You guys have all kinds of suggestions and feedback and lessons and considerations that I like to take. It's a very positive experience, and I like the little feedback loop that we have ultimately created. So thank you all so much. I love you all. If you like what you see, let me know. If there's things in here that you want me to do differently, things in here that you don't like, or if even me approaching the video in this way is still not what you guys want to see, let me know and I'll try to make corrections. I don't want to do heavily edited stuff. I'm not good at editing. I don't like to plan that stuff out ahead and lock myself into a script. It feels very fake. I like to be genuine and real and raw and live, and that's just how I am as a person. But I do want it to be digestible. So anything that you guys can give me in the way of tips or advice and feedback for that, like Cryo had done, that is greatly appreciated. Yeah, I think that's it. Let me know what you guys think, good or bad, and I'm not sure if the next video is going to be, hopefully winter will get finished up soon, and I won't have snow on top of everything, and actually show off some of the more intricate builds that I want to show without the snow hiding every goddamn thing. Again, thank you all so much. I love you. Stay alive. Stay happy.